Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the best books that I read in the first quarter of 2022. So this is covering January, February, and March. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you've probably figured out that I read a lot of books. In the first quarter of the year, I read about 100 books. And so every quarter I like to do a video where I highlight the best of the best. These were my favorite books of all of the books that I read, the ones that I gave 6 stars on a personal rating scale, which is what I give to a favorite of the year. I don't give this out to very many books, and I read a lot of different kinds of books. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about my 7 favorite books of the first quarter of 2022. Again, that's 7 out of about 100, so less than 10% of the books that I'm reading are what I consider a favorite of the year. I haven't done this before, but I thought it might be interesting to try to make myself force rank these books. I love all of them, but I've put them in order from least favorite to most favorite. I mean, they're all favorites, but if you want to get a sense of like where they fall, this will give it to you. So we're going to start at number 7 and work our way up to number 1. Coming in at number 7 is the only romance that has yet to make this list in 2022. We have A Scourge of Her Own by Stacey Reid. I am finding that I really enjoy Stacey Reid's take on historical romance. She does books that are both hard-hitting and truly romantic, where I'm rooting for the couple to be together. In 2021, one of her books made my favorites list, and this year A Scourge of Her Own is on my favorites list. In some ways, this is a forbidden love match with a little bit of a twist. The hero and the heroine are from completely different social classes and backgrounds, but they knew each other as children because the hero saved the heroine from an accident where she fell into the river, and they ended up spending several days together before they were eventually found and rescued. Now they're all grown up. She's the daughter of a powerful marquess, and he is the lord of the London underworld who has spent years working his way up from nothing in order to be able to deserve the woman who left such an imprint on his heart from the time they were just children. Meanwhile, at night, our heroine has been disguising herself, going into the seedier side of London and performing as this mysterious singer, all in order to uncover secrets of her own. I don't want to say too much more than that, but this is definitely a parents don't like it, star-crossed lovers sort of situation that deals with social and class inequalities and has this very beautiful, slow burn, steamy and passionate romance at the center of it. I really love this. If that sounds up your alley, definitely give it a try. I think Stacey Reid is fantastic. Coming in at number 6 is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This is an interesting book and I think a polarizing one. In general, I feel like Paul Tremblay is a polarizing author. People sort of love him or hate him a lot of the time, but his books make for great discussion. This was our Patreon book club pick for March, and I loved it probably more than most of the other people in book club, but we had a range of opinions from people who really didn't like it to people who just liked it okay and people who liked it more. It was very interesting. Personally, I thought this book was doing some really fascinating things thematically, and I liked the way that it was drawing on classics from the horror genre, some more obviously than others. Most of the book is told from the perspective of the then 8-year-old youngest daughter of a family where her 14-year-old sister has been displaying these bizarre symptoms that might be signs of schizophrenia. When medication and therapy don't initially work, her father, who's Catholic, decides that he wants to try an exorcism because he thinks she might be possessed. He reaches out to a priest who ends up putting the family in touch with a production company that wants to do a reality television show following the exorcism of their teenage daughter, and things kind of go from there. This book is sometimes shocking, sometimes bizarre, but it's doing a lot to critique not only reality television, but also the harm and trauma that can come with these kinds of exorcisms, particularly involving young women. It's a really interesting book with really interesting characters, and Paul Tremblay likes to finish his books with these sort of open-ended things, and in this case you're left wondering, is it actually a possession or is it just mental health struggles, and what does it all mean exactly? I really loved it. This is one I would like to revisit in the future and reread. As I said earlier, I did enjoy the way that he integrated other classics in the horror genre, and yeah, this book really worked for me. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but if this sounds up your alley, maybe give it a try. Coming in at number 5 was Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. I have been slowly making my way through Octavia Butler's work, and I love her. I think that her writing is incredible, often very prophetic, and just has so much richness to it in terms of themes and characters and ideas that she's playing with. This is the second part of a duology set in a dystopian near future America. This is set years down the line from book one and is structured quite differently, but I liked it, I think, even more than the first book, and together they make for such a fascinating duology that is dealing with issues that feel quite prescient reading it in 2022. It's pretty wild, to be honest. It's tackling things like climate change, right-wing religious extremism, and dangerous political division, all of which we are really seeing now. I loved this. I love her writing, and I look forward to continuing to read and reread her books. Coming in at number 4 is Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation by Kristen Kobes-Dumez. This is the one nonfiction title that has made my favorites list so far this year, and this was a really good one. I'm not going to get into this too much because this has been a big part of a series that I'm doing talking about evangelical American Christianity and deconstructing from that. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll link up above the video where I talk about this and one other book in detail, but I thought this was a really fantastic piece of nonfiction. It was well argued, interesting, informative. I loved it. I had a lot to say about it. I won't rehash all of that here, but if these topics interest you, I would recommend giving this one a look. Coming in at number 3 is the one book I don't yet own a copy of because as I'm filming this, it is not yet published, though by the time this video goes up, it should be available. That book is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. I have an entire review video talking about this, which I'll link up above if you haven't seen it, but I'm gonna ask you to sort of ignore what the cover looks like and just know that this is a dark and gritty adult sci-fantasy debut novel that is incredible. If you were a fan of Red Rising by Pierce Brown, you should definitely give this a try. Unfortunately, I don't think the cover is doing it a lot of favors. People seem to be thinking it's either YA or indie published. It is neither of those things. It is definitely an adult title, and it's coming out through Harper Voyager, so it's traditionally published. Like I said, it is sci-fantasy. There is magic in this world, but it follows a young woman in her early 20s who enters a brutal military training school with the goal of becoming an elite Praetorian soldier and try to uncover who assassinated her grandfather. This military training school is incredibly dangerous, and only a fraction of her entering class will actually survive through to graduation. On top of which, she is a minority and one of only a few women in this training school, and so there's a lot of people who want her dead. And she's hiding a dangerous secret. She has blood magic, which is something that she could be executed for. There's a lot happening here. It is super action-packed, lots of twists and turns. It is quite dark and very violent, so know what you're getting into, but I thought it was incredible, and the ending is like, wow. Changes everything. Can't wait for book 2, and at least at this point they're saying it's going to be a duology. So please go check it out. This is one that I really hope finds its readers, and it is a shame that I'm not seeing it more places. This should be a lead title for Harper Voyager, and I just don't think they're doing publicity for this in the way that they should be. Based on early reviews I'm seeing, I just don't think that it's reaching the right readers, so if this sounds like your thing, please go give it a try. Number 2 on my list of favorite books for quarter 1 is also probably the biggest surprise of the quarter. This is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. Look, I am usually not a big fan of hard-hitting YA contemporaries. I tend to avoid them. The only reason that I picked this up is because I really loved An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, and I thought, you know what, if anybody was gonna make me like a hard-hitting YA contemporary, it would be Sabaa, and I was not wrong. This book is amazing. The character work is incredible. It deals sensitively with very difficult topics. It made me cry, which is difficult to do. Like, not a lot of books every year make me cry, but this one certainly did. And I just think it's an amazing book that people should pick up. Do know that there are a lot of content warnings in this. It deals with a lot of difficult subject matter, so check that out if you need it. I do have content warnings in my Goodreads review, and my Goodreads is always linked in the video description down below if you want to check that out. But this primarily follows two Pakistani American teenagers living in a small town, coming of age, and dealing with a lot of challenges ranging from abuse to financial difficulties to addiction and other things as well. I thought this book was incredible. It was very nuanced. There is also a second timeline, although it doesn't take up nearly as much space as that primary timeline, but this one is set in the past, and it follows a young woman who is coming of age and getting married in India and then moving with her new husband to America and starting a new life. This deals with immigration, it deals with Islamic identity, it deals with familial abuse, it deals with poverty. There's a lot here. It was amazing. So highly recommend. And lastly, number one, my favorite book that I read in the first quarter of 2022 was Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. Oh my god, I love this so much, and people tell me that the second book in this trilogy is even better than the first one, so I wouldn't be shocked if that also makes my list of favorites for the next quarter. For me, this book was absolute perfection, and I think Robin Hobb is good at everything. Nuanced characters who feel like real people, incredible world building, beautiful prose, interesting themes, twists and turns. I was living for this. This was so good. I loved the Farseer trilogy, but so far, the Live Ship Trader series, I'm loving even more. There are characters I hate, there are characters I love, there are characters who are breaking my heart, and I have so many questions and theories about what is happening and how it connects to the wider world. It was so good. This was a pleasure to read, even when it was breaking my heart and making me angry. She gives you all the emotions. It was incredible. So there you go. Those are my favorite books that I've read in the first 3 months of 2022, and I hope that you'll go check some of them out, especially if they weren't already on your radar and they sound like they'd be up your alley. I think these books are amazing. Now talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, tell me what was one of your favorite books that you read in the first quarter of 2022. It could be on this list, it could be something totally different. What was one of your faves and why did you love it so much? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, it does help if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.